It was New Year, Eve in 2017. I am from Ohio, just outside Cleveland, and I'd flown home after finishing my semester at the University of Rochester. Had to stay an extra week. Personal stuff, and that meant Christmas alone. I am a Browns fan, big one. And as I stood in the airport watching them lose their final game of the season that year, 16, well, it felt like a gut punch, windless. The kind that makes you feel like everything's been sucked dry. My flight got delayed, ruined the whole plan. We were supposed to all pile into one car and drive to my cousin's house for New Year's Eve, stay overnight, laugh till dawn, eat too much food, drink too much beer. But with the delay, my parents bailed early, took the main ride. I was stuck behind the wheel of the spare car alone. My mom tried to soften the blow by leaving Vera, the golden retriever, behind to keep me company. I wasn't thrilled about driving solo, but Vera, always good company, so I figured, all right, let's make the most of it. When my Uber dropped me off at the airport, it was almost 10 o'clock. Didn't even bother packing neatly. I jammed everything into the car. But pull over the next clearing, small, barely enough room for the car, but it would have to do. I remember thinking how dark it really was without those little patches of white snow. I probably wouldn't have been able to see into the woods at all. I jammed my hands in my pockets, trying not to freeze to death. Vera didn't seem to care about the cold or the darkness. Classic golden retriever. Let her out without even bothering to leash her. That is when I heard it. All of a sudden, a loud crash, heavy and deliberate, like someone or something was moving through the trees. I literally jumped. Before I could react, Vera bolted straight into the woods. Gone in seconds. I yelled her name over and over. No answer. My heart started racing. Hard to breathe. The cold didn't help. I couldn't leave her out there. Not an option. Without thinking, I ran after her. I ran until my lungs gave out from the cold. I forced myself to stop, nearly fell over from exhaustion, leaned against a tree, felt like I was about to break down. Honestly, didn't know what to do. Then finally, I saw her. She was crouched low, shivering, walking slowly toward me, tail tucked tight between her legs. Never seen her like that before. I dropped to my knees and hugged her. Relief flooded through me. She pressed against me, trembling all over. Something had scared her badly. That is when I snapped back to reality. We were still in the middle of nowhere, and there was still something out there. I sprang up, told Vera to follow me. This time she obeyed. We started heading back toward the car, but I had no idea if we were going the right way. As if things weren't bad enough, I damn near jumped out of my skin when I heard crashing behind me. By some miracle, Vera led me straight back to the car, threw her inside before slamming the door shut. I jammed the keys into the ignition and floored it out of there. It wasn't until I'd driven a few miles that I noticed Vera was bleeding. A cut just below her shoulder blade. Someone had stabbed her. For the first time since everything started, I felt myself begin to relax. It was over. I didn't tell my parents or relatives what happened, just kept it to myself. What I'm about to tell you, still think about it often, especially around this time of year. This happened on New Year's Eve a few years back. Snow started falling about an hour into it. Light at first, just flurries dusting the windshield. Texted my parents. They were worried sick. Got worse, piling up around the car on the road ahead. After an hour or so, it became clear I wasn't going anywhere. Wanted to jump for joy. A snowplow pulled up beside me. Didn't say much at first. Just stared at me for what? It felt like an unusually long time before he finally spoke. He asked if I was okay. Gruff voice. Definitely a smoker. Honestly, kind of off-putting. I told him my car couldn't handle the conditions. Tried to sound friendly, but kept my voice steady. He nodded, said I wouldn't get far in a storm like this with that car. Paused for a moment, like he was considering what to say. I watched his eyes scan my back seat, looking for something. Was about to respond when he offered to give me a ride. I hesitated. Didn't know him. Yeah, seemed a little strange, but struck me as genuine. I asked if he could take me where I was going. Said no problem. Then he asked what I should do about the car. He shrugged and said, leave it. Agreed. I grabbed my bag, climbed into his cab. Warmth hit me like a comfort blanket. Tension in my shoulders eased as I settled in. I asked him where he was headed. Told him my parents' house. I gave directions. He nodded again, but didn't say much after that. Silence wasn't awkward, but as the minutes passed, I started feeling more uncomfortable. That's when I noticed something odd. He wasn't driving toward my parents' house. Navigation was literally pointing in the opposite direction. I tried to sound calm and asked if we were going the right way. Didn't do too well, though I could feel his demeanor shift slightly with my question. Without looking at me, he said, we're taking a short detour. Back roads are better than the highway. We drove a little longer. Did get off the highway and onto some back road. At least the GPS said we were heading in the right direction. I figured I was being paranoid. Something in my gut still told me he was off. Started looking around the cab more closely. Red flags everywhere, empty liquor bottles rolled near his feet, maps stuffed into side pockets. Saw a knife wedged. That's what happened to me. We were definitely not going the right way. Panic was building inside me. I saw a house in the distance, the only one for miles. It was my lifeline. I waited until we were close, took a deep breath and kicked the door open with all my strength. The cold hit me like a slap. But I didn't stop. I slammed into the ground, my legs screaming in pain. It didn't matter. I got up and ran toward the house. A man yelled something behind me. I glanced back. He was reaching into his glove box, maybe for a gun. I didn't turn back. I pounded on that door, screaming for help. They pulled me in. I collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. They listened without asking questions, just called the police. When the police arrived, the snowplow was already gone. They said they'd search, but with that storm it seemed impossible. He offered me a ride home, even helped me call my family. I was beyond grateful. My father was furious when he learned what happened. I haven't driven in snow since. I often wonder, what if I hadn't jumped out then? I never really liked parties, even in college. I found joy in meaningful moments with my closest friends. I'm from rural northwestern Ontario. This happened years ago. As a kid, my father and his friends had this New Year's Eve tradition. Ice fishing, everyone else was partying in bars while we sat out on frozen lakes. Up spending New Year's Eve on a frozen lake in the frigid cold with my dad, his brother. My brother who moved to Chicago years ago, and Dad's friends. Dad isn't around anymore, but I still try to go ice fishing as much as possible, especially as a way to celebrate New Year's Eve. Not sure why, just feel like I have some kind of obligation to keep the tradition going. That day, Nate was driving, his truck perfect for it. Big tires, four-wheel drive. We were prepared for anything, at least we thought so. We tried our best to keep the tradition alive, which was great, because spending New Year's Eve alone would have been depressing as hell. That day, Nate was driving his truck, perfect for it. Big tires, four-wheel drive, the lake we were heading to, not well known. As Nate navigated the snowy back roads, excitement built. There's something about ice fishing, just you, your friends. Park near the trail. Noticed someone standing nearby a few yards away, bundled up in heavy winter gear. Something about him didn't feel right. We were about to start unloading when he suddenly rushed toward. He screamed we had to help him immediately. His buddy had just fallen through the ice. Pointed at his phone, frantic voice overriding all caution. We didn't stop to grab anything, not even our coats. The urgency overrode every second thought. As we got closer to the lake, something didn't sit right. He wasn't leading us to our usual spots, toward a more remote part of the shoreline. Just as we were about to stop following, two more men appeared, dressed for fishing, not moving, just waiting. Glanced down, blood on their hands. When the man turned around with a smirk, we'd been set up. His voice was calm, but his eyes said it all. They demanded Nate's keys and everything on our persons. No choice. These guys weren't messing around. I tried to hang on to my phone, but one of them told me phones were useless. Never been more furious in my life. Clenched fists, wishing they'd had guns. Would have taken them all on within moments. They grabbed everything. One sped off toward Nate's car while the other two backed away into the woods, presumably to their own vehicle. We debated following, but figured it wouldn't matter. The woods swallowed them whole. I stood there for a moment, shivering. The cold was biting more than just the weather. Then Nate pulled out his phone. I knew he had a plan, that there was still service somewhere. Honestly, I don't know what we'd have done if Nate hadn't stayed calm and called the police. Somehow, against all odds, there was still signal. Nate, worst of all, he was screaming, kicking trees like a man possessed. Nothing Trevor or I could do to calm him down. Everything happened so fast. I'm still processing it all. Why would there be people out here in the middle of nowhere on New Year's Eve? No sense. No real reason. The cops took reports. We were driven back to Trevor's house, the only one nearby. It felt like a safe haven, but nothing could prepare us for what came next. Nate's car was never found. The attackers, those two men in the woods, were never caught either. Trevor thinks it was pure coincidence. Maybe they didn't plan to rob us, but we were simply perfect targets. It's possible, but it still feels impossible. Who sets such a perfect trap for strangers right out of nowhere? And yet, why wait until we arrived at such an isolated place, with no guarantee anyone else would come along? Still, I have no idea what to make of it all. The cold, the fear, the unanswered questions. They still haunt me.